I wanted a place for people to receive authentic guidance and practical ways to awaken. Thought-provoking, paradigm-shifting, and empowering. This is about expanding our human consciousness to create a wave of new possibilities. I'm Dr. Theresa Bullard, and this is Quantum Minds TV. Welcome to Quantum Minds TV, where we take a deep dive into various perspectives on what it's going to take to create a shift in human consciousness. Now, today on the show, I'm honored to have Gudni Gudnason joining me. Gudni is an entrepreneur, a humanitarian, and a modern-day Renaissance man with a diverse background in the world of arts and entertainment. He's also a world teacher of metaphysics, Hermetics, and Kabbalah, and is the founder of the Modern Mystery School. Gudni Gudnason is also an executive producer for Aurora Borealis Entertainment with several award-winning films, and he's the founder of the Golden Pyramid of Peace and Fusion for Peace Productions. Now, Gudni has a relentless humanitarian drive to improve the conditions for all people and help usher in a new era for human evolution. He is a visionary with deep knowledge and experience rooted in ancient wisdom from many traditions, and this unique combination of gifts has given him a successful leadership role in a number of industries and communities. He is best known for being a trailblazer who can accomplish what to most might seem impossible. So welcome to Quantum Minds TV, Founder Gudni, and thank you so much for being my distinguished guest today.
Thank you.
Now, Gudni, you've been my main spiritual teacher for the last 22 years, and I really have learned and grown so much from all that you've handed down. And while there are so many possible topics that we could dive into and discuss here today, what I really want to focus on first with you is Kabbalah. Of all the videos and content that I've made available to the public, both on my YouTube channel as well as through mystery teachings, it's the Kabbalah videos that seem to continually get the most engagement, and that it seems like people are really hungry to learn more about Kabbalah, what it is, how it applies to life. So what is it in your view that you think appeals to so many people about Kabbalah? Why is it right now that more and more people are getting interested in it, do you think?
Well, Kabbalah is, before I start, you said I've been your teacher in Kabbalah for 22 years. That's not true. I've been your reminder.
Oh, well, thank you.
Because we know all this stuff. We know all these things. And we just need a reminder that that's really the philosophy of the mystery school in it. And since Hermes for 8,000 years, we are just reminders. So, but what first of all, Kabbalah is a study of life. It's a study of everything. And the archetypes that we have within ourselves, we have these archetypes in our system, and we look for them outside ourselves. All of these archetypes are presented within the Kabbalah. So when you show any part of Kabbalah in the Kabbalah studies, you are seeing, this relates to me. You know, we can see ourselves in the mirrors of the tree of life, which is the main symbol of Kabbalah. We can see ourselves in those mirrors very easily.
So, you know, when some people still today don't necessarily know the term archetypes, a lot do because of the work of Carl Jung. But from a Kabbalistic perspective, or even just a mystery school perspective, how would you define archetypes for those who aren't quite aware of what we mean by that?
Archetypes, if we go into the concept of monad, the concept of God, then God, by whatever name you call God, doesn't matter. But God is this universal energy that's coming through something we call the monad. So the monad is this energy that we could say is us. But in some tradition, it's also regarded as God. And so the merging of monad as philosophy and monad as religion actually comes together there. And the monad is just one, but with many aspects within it. So when we take those aspects, break them down, they become the archetypes. So the aspects of God are the archetypes that we seek for. And we all seek this inside. We all want these aspects to be a part of us. We want to be like God. So, and of course, archetypes are seen, or parts of the archetypes are seen in mythology, in religion, the savior, the creators, the destroyers. All of these archetypes are all there. They're in with mythology like tarot and Greek mythology, etc. So we see all these archetypes, and even today, which is why I work within the entertainment industry, is that there's a lot of archetypes within the entertainment industry. I grew up with, a man is a man, and man is, I was John Wayne. A man has to do what a man has to do, So yeah, entertainment industry has a lot of the archetypes, or parts of them, within it. So you're watching a movie, and you like the movie, and maybe you like it because some of the archetypes within you are relating to the subject matter of the movie. So in Star Wars, who doesn't like the hero? And Luke Skywalker is the hero. And of course, quoting Freud and Jung, and everybody has problems with their father, they fight. So,
So in how many archetypes are there then? Is there an infinite number? Is there a limited number? How does that kind of play out with the tree of life and the Kabbalistic system?
It depends on who you talk to. So there are systems that have 32 archetypes, 72 archetypes, 144 archetypes. So it just depends on, what system you're working with. I personally, and then of course we have an example in the Vedas in India. There are many archetypes, all under the title of gods and goddesses. But, for me, it's like, doesn't matter how many they are. If we can't, most people can't even follow one of these, so, pick and choose like 4 and stick with 4. If you do 4, that's good. You're doing good. So,
So I would say, from some of the studies that I've done within the mystery school tradition with Kabbalah, what you're saying here is that it contains all these archetypes, and they are all a part of us. It is the pattern, the blueprint of us. And as we are ascending or working with the tree of life and studying the different aspects of that tree, the different archetypes and characteristics that come out in each part of the tree, we are, in a sense, seeing ourselves through that lens and relating to the archetype and its strengths and its weaknesses, its vices, its virtues, how they're showing up in us, how we're expressing them in a way that's balanced or in a way that's distorted in the world. And this helps us to then become more self-aware, but also to kind of clean up where we might be distorting the higher expression of these different multidimensional aspects of the self. And so it's been an amazing system that we've worked with in the process of ascending the tree to kind of bring in the spiritual alchemy that transforms and transmutes as we ascend through that pattern of the tree and the path of the flaming sword. And can you share a little bit more about where this journey of ascending the tree comes from versus, because so much when we read about Kabbalah in various books, they're often talking about it from the formula of creation and cosmology coming down from source into manifestation, but we really work with it on the way up. Maybe you can share a bit of that background, where that comes from.
Yeah. The beauty of this process you were just talking about is, the main theme of mystery schools is temet gnose, or know thyself. And we ask that question constantly and every day, and we know, who am I? The question, who am I? And the Kabbalah is the best system on the planet. I might be wrong, but the only system I found that is best to answer that question, and giving me a lot of insight into who I am. And the beauty of it is I'm still learning, still learning, and I think we'll be learning until day I die. So it's beautiful that we're actually answering that question. And many masters and sages through the ages have said, if you don't know yourself, you can't know the world. So we need to answer this question: who am I? Know thyself. And the tree in the Kabbalah is an essential point of reference in order to answer questions. And it's the tree has main 10 archetypal aspects, we could say. We call them aspects of God, by whatever name you call God. But 10 aspects of God are represented in these balls, actually balls of fire. And then there are paths, 22 paths in between them. Now, this is the formula we use today. There have been other formulas to the tree through time. But and this pathway is created to return to Godhood. And we have two energy systems on this planet. We have one that comes from above down, and that through what we call chakras. Now, the tree of life is also the chakras, because you take the middle pillar, you take the outside, and move the tree into one, and they become 7 points down. And then when it comes back up through Mother Gaia, it goes through the tree and comes through the 10 points, so 10 aspects. So these are the two energy systems. And so we work with both. We draw energy in, but to answer the question, who am I? We go up and try to take on these aspects. We actually work. The program is almost 1 year. It used to be much longer. When I went through, I could do it in 4, and there were some who were doing it in 10 years, 1 year for each aspect. So, that's for us, we're doing it faster because of the times. The time is like that today. But you get to know these aspects of God, and you embrace them, you study them, and you talk to other people about them. So you're just bouncing this around, and you're always thinking, okay, who am I in the midst of all these things? And when you adapt an aspect, what do you learn from that? Who do you become? And someone who suddenly becomes courageous and has victory in his life for the first time. This changes everything. It changes, and it changes the other aspects as well. So there's just by taking one, and in the mystery school we have this 1 year, or almost 1 year program, and you might maybe embrace one aspect, but that changes the whole tree. So people are doing these ascensions again and again. I know some students who've done it like 15 times. And each time it's changing the tree for them. And they're evolving to a higher level. So it's a very powerful process to ascend into the tree. Now the ascension actually, the old Kabbalists, usually, like you were saying, they just work with the energy coming down. But Rabbi Isaac Luria was actually the first one who said we could go up. And his students started working with the ascension process. And he was, of course, a very unusual rabbi. He even had himself be possessed by a dead person to learn from the dead.
Not something we recommend.
Very strange. Yeah, very strange. So, but yeah, so we think one of the first who started with the ascension process.
I love how you just said that, when students go through it multiple times, the ascension, the tree transforms. And one of the ways that I've often observed that is that the tree meets us where we're at, because it is our own blueprint. It is our own DNA in a way. And It meets us where we're at. And then as we ascend through the process and we go through that spiritual alchemy, each of those ascensions like catalyze that next level of transformation. So it meets us where we're at and it takes us further. And I have found for myself and so many others that I've worked with as a teacher is that, we can cover in 10 months of ascending the tree what might take 10 years to a lifetime of personal growth through other kinds of techniques that work through just the mind, or, like talk therapy, or, the psychology of it all. Like there's something really potent that comes with that spiritual alchemy that happens through the ascension journey, where we're actually tuning and opening up these new dimensions of the soul and new kind of energy awarenesses at levels of consciousness and awareness that our soul becomes awakened to within the greater totality of who we are. So yeah, it's such an amazing tool. Now, one of the things that a lot of people will associate Kabbalah with is a more specifically mystical branch of Judaism, right? So most people, when they think Kabbalah, they think it's a Jewish mysticism or a Judaic mysticism. And there certainly is, as you've mentioned Rabbi Isaac Luria, and there's a very rich and deep and long tradition within Judaic Kabbalah. But there are also other forms and ways of applying Kabbalah that come, or it's been adapted into different traditions. So, in the mystery school, we have various forms. We have universal Kabbalah. We have more of a Hermetic kind of Kabbalah. We have, occult and mystical. But then there's also Christian Kabbalah. There's the Lurianic. There's a Toledano Kabbalah. There's very different systems. Even the Sufi and Taoist and ancient Egyptian teachings seem to very much adapt themselves and have strong parallels and links with Kabbalah. And you've experienced many different trainings or flavors of Kabbalah within your lifetime and your path. So maybe you could share a little bit about some of your journey through some of those different varieties and what your own understanding is around why there's so many different ways of applying it and why that's a good thing versus there being only one way.
Yeah, there is no doubt that the Jewish tradition, they went very deep into Kabbalah, into the study of this, these incredible tools that we were given, but it's also obvious to even many rabbis that the Kabbalah was there even before, Moses, before the Jewish religion was established. So, and that there are reference points to it was not called Kabbalah, but reference point to a system of inner exploration. So the Kabbalah has, we in the Universal Kabbalah, we say the Kabbalah has been around for since the beginning of time. And it is a gift to us in order to look inside and find answers to questions that we need. So I began my journey in Kabbalah. I began with a rabbi. And it's kind of a funny story because I knocked on his place, and actually it's a home in London. I knocked on the door, and this lady came, his wife came, and then I asked for him, and he came, and I said I would like to study the Kabbalah, and he just slammed the door in my face. And I repeated this next day, and again, boom, slammed the door in my face. And third day I came, same thing, boom. And then I thought, okay, I need a different approach here. So I started asking him a question. He opened the door and I started asking a question right away. and he first slammed the door. Next day, he waited a little bit to hear everything I was saying and then slammed the door. And then on the last day, and this was the 6th day, and that was actually a Sunday. I even knocked on his door on Saturday, on the holiday. But and I said to him, I asked him, regarding the concept of the Shekinah, I do not understand this conception of how did he receive a male energy to create the universe of humans. And he looked at me, okay, be here tomorrow. That's how I got in. So I started with them.
And when was that again?
This was in mid-70s, 1970s. And so I started studying there, and it was hard because there was I didn't know Hebrew. There was a lot of Hebrew. But I came to realize that there were other young men. They were, of course, all Jewish, but there were all the young men also. And there was a rule within the Jewish community that you could only study Kabbalah after the age of 40. You have to be married, and you have to know the Zohar and the Torah. So, there was tests to get in. And there, this rabbi, who was a Hasidic rabbi, he was teaching it to young people. So I realized very soon that he was a very unusual man. And so anyway, I studied with him, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. I learned to read the Bible correctly. Example that Adam, God did not take a rib from Adam, because the word for rib also means a mirror image of. So God took a mirror image of Adam and created Eve. So I learned all these things that are correctly translated within the Hebrew religion. And but then through the mystery school, because I was part of the mystery school, I actually started with Kabbalah and then became part of mystery school. And there I learned, that the other different Kabbala's. We started with Hermetic Kabbalah and in the school, and from there actually we learned, and there I was studying that, and I saw, there is also a Christian Kabbalah. So I got a reference letter to go up to Germany, and I spent a couple of weeks in Germany. We did a 9-day retreat, and I went to a place, and we got preparation, and then we went to the retreat. And it was so intense that we actually had stigmata in our palms. Many of us, or almost everybody, was bleeding from the palms. It wasn't all the way through, but it was enough that it was bleeding, and we weren't poking ourselves, and so Christian Kabbalah, very powerful. And I also got opportunity to look at or yeah, study a little bit Egyptian Kabbalah, which is very sacred and secret and sacred, and in Egypt actually. And I also studied Muslim Kabbalah. It's not really Muslim per se, but it comes from those countries, and it's very old. So yeah, the Kabbalah there's so many varieties of it. I have stayed with, we'll call it Western Kabbalah, because our mystical tradition was reorganized by King Solomon 3,000 years ago. And he chose that Kabbalah, not because he was Jewish, but because that was the system that made most sense. And then he adopted the Hermetic Kabbalah from several teachers that came in later. And so we've always had these two parts. And I've kind of always leaned on to the Hermetic Kabbalah. In the Hermetic Kabbalah, we don't have the dogma. We're very clear on logical, actually, almost science of Kabbalah. So yeah, that's why I've stayed with that for 6 years.
So it seems like as you study Kabbalah from different traditions or different angles, it's kind of like looking at it just through a different lens. And whether your primary book is New Testament or the Torah or the Quran, and being able to see how the teachings relate to a structure of the tree of life, and which is more of a universal glyph, a sacred geometry that no human created. It was given to us, as you're saying, by the divine or by God. And so one of the things that in my own studies with over the last 22 years with you and through the reading and all, and just life, experiencing it through life, is that it seems like Kabbalah is so, I've really come to appreciate how adaptive, how alive, how dynamic the tree of life and the system of Kabbalah is. It's not a static thing. It's not just there's only one way to work with it. It's more universal, multifaceted, multidimensional. And so it can really just be adapted to anything. I mean, I've even been able to look at the tree of life and see how physics aligns onto it, how, universal laws of physics can align. And so and psychology and relationships and astrology, and we can take all of these different systems of human knowledge and thought and lay them out onto the tree of life. And this is one of the things that I really appreciated about the system that's come through the mystery schools, is looking at it from that perspective of all these different correspondences and layers and dimensions and ways in which each sephra, each aspect of the tree manifests itself into the world of human experience. And but at the same time, I also realized that even though sometimes when you look at the different traditions, like if I were to look at some of the correspondences from some of the Judaic approach to it versus some of the correspondences from the Gold Dawn approach to it, they sometimes might seem contradictory, like which one is masculine, which one is feminine. Is it on the right side of the body, left side of the body? And sometimes what I encounter out there is when we sort of present some of the correspondences in a way that's different from maybe what they learned through a rabbi. They, often people go, well, no, that's wrong. That's just wrong. And versus, so I think that Kabbalah is so adaptive that it's not about right and wrong. It's more like a quantum view. It's both and versus either or. And when you can, so it's so, multifaceted in that sense and alive, and multidimensional. And when we strip away the differences, right? So if we kind of move away from focusing on the differences between the different traditions there's still a core essence that all Kabbalistic systems really seem to be united around. They've got that core. So what would you say is that core essence of Kabbalah, regardless of the particular school of thought or the particular tradition and way? What's the common thread that weaves them all together?
First of all, when it comes to, of course, through my life, I met a lot of Kabbalists who say, "Oh, you're doing it wrong," and this, no, that, and I've had a lot of fun arguments actually about all this, and the beauty of it is that the mystery school tradition, all the way from Hermes through King Solomon and to today, we are taught basically that don't see anything as the absolute truth. Everything is about perspectives. So you look at something and there's always going to be 4, 8, 16 or more perspectives that you can look at this thing, and they're going to show you different things. So and actually the rabbi I studied with, he was mystery school member. He was a part of the mystery school. That's how I found. I didn't find he kind of found me actually, but it's a different story. and he would often emphasize, he'd have us argue in school. He'd have us argue about concept. Come in and say, okay, here's a concept, argue, and 1 for, 1 against, and then we would change. And the interesting thing about that tradition is that they argue at the same time. You have to listen and talk. So it's very intense, Anyway, so we learn to say, well, okay, there might be one option, one way of looking at it, but there are others. And so we have openness about, and not fanatically about, okay, this is the truth, it has to be this way. The core, coming to the core essence of what Kabbalah, of course, Kabbalah, again, is the study of everything. It is physics. It is all the sciences. It's all the arts. It's life. All the beings on this planet, animal, mineral, vegetable, human. It's everything. The study of all things. But the main thing, the power of Kabbalah, is that it does not teach you to look, example, if you are studying a flower, okay, I'm looking at this flower, it's purple, it's shaped like this. But with Kabbalah, I learned that I need to go into the flower and become the flower. So same with answering the question, who am I? The answers to that are not outside. They're inside of me. So it is introspective method. All the answers are within me. And, that's what Kabbalah is.
Join us again as we continue to dive deeper into this fascinating conversation with Gudni Gudnason on the next episode of Quantum Minds TV.
This conscious conversation was created, produced, and recorded by Dr. Theresa Bullard and edited by Verse Content and Depth Perception Films. The theme music and intro videography were created by Tim Mountain of Even Mode Productions. Quantum Minds TV is a product of the Quantum Learning Academy.